may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Day by day, we are inching closer to 1,000 subscribers. So I want to thank everybody who has subscribed to the channel. I want to thank everybody who's been dropping likes on videos, leaving comments, helping us get recommended to new listeners. Now, thank you so much, guys. It really means a ton. And because of that, what we are going to be doing is we're going to follow the trend of what we've done over the past 2 days, because y'all told me that significantly helps. And we are going to be looking at players, specifically now starting pitchers that have drastically risen up fantasy baseball rankings from the start of the season to now. And how we are doing this is, no, we are not creating our own fantasy baseball rankings, because A, those rankings wouldn't be that accurate at all. It would take me multiple days to sit there and make sure we have everything where we want it. And at the end of the day, Fantasy Pros provides free rankings, I believe, from 10 different experts, all combined together for kind of an ADP sort of rankings. And those guys know more than me. There's 10 of them working on it. So, of course, we're going to go off of that rather than what I can do on my own right. So we are going to be looking at their rankings. We're going to be comparing it to where other very smart fantasy baseball players were valuing these guys, and that is high stakes fantasy baseball ADP coming into the season. We're going to be looking at the differences and trying to identify the pitchers that have risen the most and whether we think it's warranted or we should be looking to sell. But our first guy we are going to be looking at is literally one of the best pitchers in baseball, if not the best pitcher in baseball currently. This is going to be Corbin Burnes. And very rarely are you going to get someone with this type of production where you drafted him in drafts this year. Now, he was going in the 6th round in a lot of cases as the 18th, 19th, 20th pitcher off the board in those high stakes leagues, which is absolutely crazy. I mean, you look at him, only 26 years old, pitching for the Brewers, and we were looking at him as a pitcher that we really didn't know what to do with because the sample size wasn't that large. The sample size was hard to take a lot away from, because you go to 2019, the season that we love to look at. We love to look at 2019 because generally you'll find 180 innings pitched in a season. You'll have a good idea of what their strikeout per inning ratio is. You'll have a good idea of the whip you can expect, the ERA. And here, you only have 49 innings pitched from Corbin Burnes, and the strikeout per inning ratio was elite. I mean, it was up there at 1.42. Obviously, that's a number you like. But in the case of his ratios, in the case of, my God, the whip is through the roof. The whip was over 1.8 in 2019. It was almost unreal if you were looking at the difference between the strikeout per inning ratio, the whip, and the ERA, going, how can someone generate so many strikeouts yet at the same time just be getting completely demolished? And then you go to 2020, and this was the sign we should have looked at. We should have gone, you know what? We don't have this large sample, but there's one thing that is sticking true here, and that's in 2020, he pitched 59 innings, and his strikeout per inning ratio was at 1.5. That is an elite number. That's up there with a Jacob deGrom. I mean, that's up there with the best pitchers in baseball. And what was very nice to see last season was the fact that he completely bottomed out his whip and his ERA. I mean, the whip fell all the way down to 1.0. The ERA was down there at 2.11. So he was elite across the board in 2020. But we are coming away from it going, you know what? It was a weird year, very small sample. We don't really know what to expect. Yet in 2021, I mean, he has truly been spectacular. He's pitched 24 innings so far. And listen to these numbers. In 24 innings, he has had 40 strikeouts. So that is close to 2 strikeouts an inning. I mean, that's like 1.67 strikeouts an inning. What's more impressive is the ERA and the whip. The ERA is down there at 0.36 and the whip is at 0.32. So we really didn't know what to do with him coming into the season. We went, hey, you know what? The ceiling is probably sky high. You look at the strikeout per inning ratio and you go, hey, this is a player that has an insane ceiling. And if we were looking at his range of outcomes, it's hard to know what the floor is. But now in 2021, even off of this small sample, we have 3 years in a row of elite strikeout production. And now we have a better understanding that he's also going to be a guy that can keep the ERA. He can keep the whip down. And of course, no, he's not going to be able to maintain this 2021 rate, because if he did, he would be the best baseball player of all time. But what is most impressive about this is you naturally go, okay, I mean, he's pitched 24 innings. His whip is at 0.32. I mean, he must be going up against some of the worst lineups in baseball. But if you go through and look at who he's pitched against so far, and you just look at their OPS, I mean, he's pitched against the Twins, who are 7th in the league in OPS, the Cardinals, who are 16th, the Cubs, who are 9th, the Padres, who are 19th. You go, okay, well, he's doing this against average to above average competition. He is posting these elite numbers. So Corbin Burnes, I mean, name 5 pitchers that you would rather have over him at this point. Name 5 pitchers that you would rather have over him for the rest of the season, because I would have a very hard time doing so. I mean, literally looks like a league winner. If you took him as the 18th, 19th, 20th pitcher off the board, bravo, congrats. I wish I was you. And that's really all we have to say about that. Now let's go over to an old head. Let's go to someone where we have large samples to look at. Let's go to Charlie Morton. 37 years old, pitching for the Braves. He had an ADP of 117 in those high-stakes drafts, so he was going at the end of the 9th, the beginning of the 10th. And if we're looking at 2019, this is a season that's very impressive, to be completely honest. I mean, yes, he's 35 years old here. Yes, you should naturally expect a pitcher to probably get a little bit worse from the time that he is 35 to 37. But anyway, in 2019, he posted a 3.04 ERA, a 1.08 whip, and 240 strikeouts with 194 innings pitched. So this is a very large sample. He has a decent amount more strikeouts than innings pitched. That's something that you really want to see if you're looking for someone with great upside. The whip, the ERA are both numbers that are very, very low, to the point where you don't have to worry about your ratios getting messed up at all. And in 2020, yes, he doesn't necessarily come through with production anything close to this. I mean, he only pitches 38 innings, so it's a very small sample. The ERA is up there at 4.74. The whip is at 1.39, and the strikeouts are at 42, so about 1 strikeout per inning. Now, this is going to be something hard to look at, because we can get to his 2021 stats where he has been impressive. I mean, the whip is back down at 1.12. The ERA is under 4. The strikeouts are considerable more compared to the innings pitched. But what I want to point out here is he's doing this against lineups that are pretty bad or at best average. I mean, he's pitched 4 games so far this year. 2 of them have come from the Phillies, which is the best lineup so far he's faced. The Phillies are currently ranked 12th in OPS, but the other 2 are against the Yankees and the Marlins. Now, I know you hear Yankees. Naturally, you have that bias going, hey, Mason, what are you talking about? Yeah, the Yankees are in the slump, but they are still a pretty good baseball team, where I'm saying, guys, they're 28th in OPS right now. They are a very bad baseball team. The Marlins, we knew were going to be bad coming in. So in the case of Charlie Morton, I think he's very old, so you have to be worried about the fall off coming anytime soon. B, the small bump up from what we saw from 2020 may just be due to the lineups he's gone up against. So I think maybe this is a player that you actually look to sell high if you can get a small bump up with where you drafted him. Okay, so now let's go over to Joe Musgrove, who is going in this same range. I mean, he was going pretty much right after Charlie Morton. Maybe you would have seen these guys flipped depending on what kind of draft you were in. But anyway, pitching for the Padres, 28 years old. And we go through, nothing really stands out that special about him. I mean, in 2019, at 26 years old, he pitched 170 innings, an ERA at 4.44, a whip at 1.22, and 157 strikeouts. So he has less strikeouts than innings pitched. We know that is not something you want to see at all over the large sample. In 2020, he fixes this, though. In 2020, he comes out and only 39 innings pitched. He is able to rack up 55 Ks. Now, the ERA is also down. The whip is also down. I mean, a 3.86 ERA, a 1.24 whip. And in 2021, he's been extremely, extremely, extremely impressive, where he's had 26 innings pitched, a 1.04 ERA, a 0.54 whip, and 37 strikeouts. So considerably more strikeouts than innings pitched. Now, this is, in my opinion, a classic case of just a sell high player, because you go through, you look at the lineups he's gone up against, and yeah, he's gone up against the Diamondbacks, who are currently ranked 11 in OPS. But outside of that, it's been the Rangers, who are 24th, the Pirates, who are 26th, the Brewers, who are 22nd, and I believe that was a Brewers team without Christian Yelich at the same time. So in the case of Joe Musgrove, I know that some people want to get excited if you drafted him at that 10th round pick. I mean, you're probably looking at a very nice situation where you are at this point in the season. But still, I'm looking at it going, you know what? It's been against subpar competition. I am probably just going to be looking to sell where we can. Yeah, let me know if y'all think I'm wrong with this. Let me know if you think that there is a reason to expect this drastic bump up from that 2019 large sample that we have to 2021. Let me know if I'm missing anything. And of course, guys, thank you for watching the video. Go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel if for whatever reason you have not already, and I will see y'all with the video tomorrow.